Right. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the nabs Career Insights. And today we're focused primarily on social media. So this is about getting focused and getting social. So this series has been put on by nabs and is designed specifically for folks that are looking to make some changes, looking to make some improvements, or maybe strengthening the foundation of their careers. And we've helped thousands of people through different career transitions over the last 10 years, and it's been a real pleasure to do that. And one of the dynamics that continues to be an important challenge for us to get our heads around and to tackle right is social media, because well, there's a lot of people walking around engaging at the world through their little box in their hand, and there are a lot of people making a lot of assumptions based on just a little bit of information. And what's out there about you? Well, primarily it's for you to control and manage. You know, you are the brand manager of the most important brand in your life, which is your life. And by really managing the way that you carry yourself, the way that you engage with people, what discussions you're having, the kind of enthusiasm or silence you choose to meet situations with. Maybe you see things on social media that prompt you to pursue something, which is very important. You know, if we're moving into career transition, often there's a lot more initiative required for you to get behind yourself and who you are and what you do. And social media, what you see, especially if you're following the right threads, you're going to get a lot of nudges and cues about what you might want to be focusing in on next. So one example of that is, you may see on LinkedIn job postings, and they may be looking for people just like you. They may not even be accurately written up job descriptions. They may have a need that is bigger than the job description, or a need that is more precise than whoever was writing the job description was able to get their head around. But maybe in meeting you, they can discover that, hey, there's even more value that can be created there, and that's a very powerful thing to do. So what I invite us to do is really think about social media in terms of, hey, it's as natural as an engagement tool as your mouth or your fingers, because you're talking or you're typing. Social media just puts you into the right conversations, and it allows you to show up just the way you want to show up. And we may want to think about, well, how are people meeting us on social? And there may be people that are finding you because of the words that you've chosen. And they may be finding you because the social media network they're connected to is recommending you should connect with them. Maybe you have mutual friends. Maybe you had parallel lives at some point. Maybe there's some reason the metrics are seeing, you guys should probably know each other. Let's connect. Let's grow our network. Of course, as social media networks get larger and more engaged audiences, then they are expanding their own brands and power, and it is in their interests to find ways to engage you and encourage you to engage. One way to think about social media is you actually have a publishing platform that's accessible all around the world, something very few people had, like nobody had in this way even 50 years ago. So our ability to get behind our words and get it to the audience, that's so much easier than it's ever been. Okay, so then what's the challenge? Well, how do you cut through the clutter? How do you seize and capture the emotions and the imagination of the people that you're connecting with? How can the people feel who you are and say, okay, I understand Amrita and the value that she creates. Boy, I really have to talk to her when it comes to situations like this. Or maybe Claudia, we have a situation coming up where you would be the perfect person to step in and fill those shoes, and part of that is like you've kind of been interviewing at a number of places for a long time if you've been on social media, in a sense, because as you build up awareness and trust, there is a perception of value that increases organizations' ability to trust you and empower you with the kind of work that you want to do. If we're looking at two sites. If someone's, say, looking for a marketing director and you're given a link to two different LinkedIn profiles, and one is barely sketched out and another one is more robustly articulated, which one might you spend a little more time with? If you have one that has one recommendation or two recommendations and another candidate that has 25 recommendations, and you have time to meet with one of those people, who do you think you might meet with? Well, if you kind of walk it backwards, you go, I've probably done a lot of good work with good people over the years that might have good things to say about who I am and what I do. And you know what? When you're working with good people and doing good work, they usually enjoy being able to offer you a recommendation. They usually enjoy being able to shine the flashlight on the quality that you bring and help you and other people in the world see it. As your social media platforms get populated with the content that you want to be the magnet to attract what you want, as you flesh out that content, you'll end up being more findable. You know, there may be some people on this call or reviewing this video that are really looking to find a job. Well, at the same time that you're looking to find a job, there are people with jobs that are looking for people just like you. And, you know, some of them are hiring recruiters. Some of them are doing their LinkedIn searches themselves. Some people are asking their friends and their colleagues, maybe even offering referral bonuses. Can we just find the talent we need? Well, whatever it is that is your area of core expertise and brilliance, I would like to encourage you to be more powerful and strong in the articulation of that value. I would like you to populate your LinkedIn pages with words that are the same kind of words that people are using to search for candidates like you. You know, there may be some companies that you've worked with over the years. Often folks that come through this program have come through agency world, and you know, maybe they've worked at a few different agencies and over the years with numerous clients in different sectors. Well, there's real value in that. And you know, whether it's the value of having a breadth of perspectives that you can then bring to your clients or employers going forward, or whether it's even, you know, hey, you're looking to work for a company that has situations and challenges that are very analogous to the ones that you've had in your past. You know, if you have a lot of experience in a particular industry, you know, they might be looking for your marketing expertise in that industry more than someone who's built up their expertise somewhere else. So in social media, I mean, you are the master of your communications. You are the master of setting tone. You decide what conversations you want to join, how you would like people to experience you, what part of your experience has value and is worth really getting behind. You know, often when I'm working with folks that are going to populate their LinkedIn, which is kind of tied in with resume development work, because you have to take a new perspective on the work that you've done. You know, I'm sure that everyone who's attending this call has done some good work at some point, and often many points in your life. What are those areas where you truly produce value? There may be part of your last job where, you know, anybody could have done it, but parts of the job that only you could do. Parts of the job where the work that you did translated into true value that was a valuable return on investment for your employer and clients. You know, this is hero work. This is making situations dramatically better. You know, if you're looking back at any phase of your career and go, what did you do there? One way is like, what did you improve? You know, and if you can gather a stock of stories that help people understand, you know, how you improve the organization and clients you work with, well, that helps them understand the value that you bring. And that's very powerful because, you know, brand building has a lot to do with making a really good promise and over-delivering on it. If your promise is just flat, well, what's exciting? What is there to engage with? But if you're promising things and not delivering, well, you're warning the market to stay the heck away from you. So I'd like you to figure out what's the best promise you want to make to your future employer or your future client. I bet there are new ways to think about what you do than how you talked about yourself last year. Social media is a great place to update that, because not only can you update your profile and your story and even your perspective on what you did at each phase of your career, you can also step out and re-announce yourself. I just did this last week. Took a picture. I look a little different now. I have a beard. I never used to have a beard before. So I look a little different. So I thought, okay, well, might as well show what I look like now and tell people what my offering is right now. Because there are some people who know me in my work in career coaching. Other people know me more for like teaching and organizational situations. Some people look to me for motivational speaking, and some people interpersonal dynamics and really kind of creating better interpersonal dynamics with deeper understanding where there's greater connectivity. So all of these things, I may have, each of my clients may have known me for those in each of those respective spaces, but to be able to step out and say, hey, I'm Trevor, and it's been a little while since I said hi. I thought to share a little bit about what I'm up to. It's very motivating. It helps people understand how to think about you now, because you're not who you used to be. And social media is wonderful that way because it facilitates faster growth than used to be possible. If you're now visible in a much clearer way to your collaborators and competitors than you ever were, then your ability to truly make a name for yourself, to carve a brand out, and to become known for the very thing you love doing most, it's a great time in history to do that. I think to start with LinkedIn. LinkedIn's a good place to start because it's the social network that was developed specifically for business, right? So folks that have met in the business sphere, they might not want to see you in your grandparents' pictures on Facebook, or the very curated image focus sensibility of Instagram, but they may want to kind of just keep in touch and just know how to get in touch with you and see where you've been and what you're doing next. And I'm sure there's some people that you want to follow. If you're not already following the kinds of companies that you really want to work with, give them a follow. Understand what they're choosing to step forward and talk about. And see if you have something meaningful to contribute to that discussion. You might probably want to update your profile, your LinkedIn profile. So one thing to do is you're going to want to have an updated picture. What do you look like now? Do you look warm? Do you look engageable? Is it a big enough picture that we can see enough of your face to really feel a connection with you? Because remember, people don't actually hire profiles and resumes. People hire people. And so if you can get that connection with the people that should be hiring you, that you want to have hire you, get that emotional connection just by the understanding and the sheer humanity of your search and the purity of the value you want to create and the strength of the solutions that you promise and deliver. When you get anchored in these energies, these are powerful energies. People need people like you. And people are able to find people like you if you tell a good and true story about who you actually are. Many people walk around with self-limiting beliefs. Can I actually say that? Oh, am I really that good? Can I promise that? Well, I assure you, if you do great work, you're going to want to talk about it really well. Don't undermine yourself. Don't underestimate your value. And by really kind of falling in love with the improvement of your story, you're also falling in love with the improvement of yourself, which creates the kind of momentum that's very hireable. Sometimes you get these questions for folks that have been out of the market for a bit. Maybe they had spent 6 months looking for a job, or maybe they had to care for a family member for 3 years, and their resume kind of looks like, oh, what'd you do in the last 3 years? Well, there are ways of working with that, and we can address that too. And certainly I encourage you all to link in with me and get in touch. I'd be happy to help you out. I've helped thousands of people through these kinds of dynamics. But on LinkedIn, you're going to want to plant your flag, and you're going to want to be strong about what you look like and your profile statement. They call it a summary statement on LinkedIn, and I think there's probably a way to triangulate your value proposition, so we can say, hey, great at this, and great at that. If maybe, for some people that I work with, they're heavily involved in account management, let's say in advertising agency world. Well, they're probably going to want to speak to their ability to manage and run projects that are on time, on scope, on budget. There's a great project management piece, and there's probably a great people piece. You've got to be a great communicator to be a great project manager. So maybe there's a sentence that speaks to the management of projects, and another one about people and engagement and inspiring the best out of people. I think that's something we're looking for when we're hiring sort of account executives. And maybe other people would, maybe have a business development capacity, adept and building and strengthening revenue pipelines. For the folks that are looking to have a long life in agency world, it seems the longer you're there, the more important it is that you're bringing money in the door to help create the agency and to hire the new people that are learning how to do it too. So being a value creator and a value generator is very important. And these three pieces of communication are going to be key to get on top of. So one of them, again, is your picture. Another one is your summary statement, a profile statement. Another one is your headline. So people will probably get a chance to read, your 6 or 7 words, or maybe you can even make it so succinct as it's 3 or 4 words. Can people understand immediately who you are and establish that chain of connection to want to work with you, to want to understand what you bring, to start conversations with you, to be the person they want to talk to when they're hiring someone who's good at the things you're good at. And they're going to come to know you partly through your reputation, the way you curate it on social media. There's this illusion with high performers sometimes that great work speaks for itself. It's not true. That's why there's a marketing industry. Great work needs a marketer, and you need a marketer. You need to be your own marketer, and to really see that marketing yourself it creates the space for you to do whatever that core genius stuff is that you do better than other people. You may have the same title as 5 other people, but I assure you that there's some things that you do, and the way that you do them just right, it's a winning recipe, and it's something that the world needs to know about. Something that the world needs to know about your availability to do that if you're moving into transition. Well, how are they going to know that? Well, definitely by being findable and having a good profile statement, but also the way you engage with conversations. Some of the smartest networkers I know have made it a practice to comment on 10 threads a day. So you pick your conversations that you're going to follow. And maybe you're following the 20 organizations that are on your target list. If you don't have a target list right now, great opportunity to make one. Right? Because you have a lot more to say in the overall outcome of your career than you've probably been led to believe. Most of us have so much more opportunity, but we just don't know. Maybe we hadn't sought it out. Maybe it hadn't been introduced to us. And I'm sure that we can all produce value in different sorts of places. And the stronger a position that you take about the value that you want to create, the value you love to create and are exceptionally gifted in creating, the more you will build focus and attention around that area in yourself so that you can find the opportunities that you want. So this is also a part of, commenting, liking, and picking your conversations. You may have a lot of people that you've worked with in days gone by that maybe you weren't even close then, but you become more close on social because you're into the same things, or maybe, pursuing some similar aspects. Maybe by recasting and reconsidering the value you were creating before you were conscious enough to know exactly what that was. You esteem value upon earlier parts of your career. Because you can look back now with your wisdom eyes, and then you can see, oh, you learned and adopted strategies to foster excellence in client communications. Maybe you cultivated creativity and collaboration, working in partnership with others. I love sound bites. I love finding concise, true ways to communicate things. You know, especially in this industry, there's a lot of people that have a very short attention span. Oh, what's that? You know, can be distracted so easily. And so if you have a narrow window to be able to seize someone's attention, then you're going to want to do that. You're going to want to do it by finding exactly the language and the emotionality that resonates with them. One lesson that I think is very important considering with social media is the tuning fork principle. And I'm going to share that a little bit right now. And being a musician, this is also this is close to my heart. Is that you can have tuning forks. Imagine we had 7 tuning forks. You know, the key of A, B, C, D, E, F, G, all out in front of us, and each one of them is shaped a little differently. And each different shape allows it to produce a different resonance. So these have been sort of measured and calculated so that an A note comes through the tuning fork, ding, it's meant to sound like A. And if you pick up a different tuning fork and hit that, might resonate a little higher. The A is just going to sit there. If this is buzzing and the B is going, and the A is not going to really pick that up because it's configured differently. But if we had another tuning fork in the key of B, you know, you could really get a resonance from one to the other very quickly. And so this is part of the art of cover letters too. You know, for folks that are looking to strike exactly the right note in the tone setting of introducing your candidacy and your value. If you write a letter that would be perfect for a bank, probably not going to be perfect for an advertising agency, and vice versa. Because the tuning fork and the vibration and the energy and the things that resonate with the people in those spaces are different. Just like you might, just like you might adopt a communication, you know, if you're talking to high school students about health, you're going to be talking to them differently than if you're talking to kindergarteners about health. They need different things, right? And so you have an ability to, with each opportunity that you're evaluating, each job that you decide to apply for, each job that you decide to pursue, whether you even know it exists or not, because yes, that a lot of jobs are found that way. You know, with everything that you decide to pursue, you basically choose the frequency that is going to be right. And it's got to be right with you, and it's got to be right with them. The fake it till you make it thing is a real funny thing, because it's, you know, on one hand, like you have to get on the frequency to be the frequency, you know, but you also don't want to be a fake, because who the hell wants fakes? All the best activity on social media is authentic. It's like, how can you actually get your true, uninhibited self out there engaging with people so they know the true you and can engage with you at the kind of depth that allows you to produce maximum value? You know, it's a cool art. So there's how you present yourself in terms of how you are findable, and then there is how you actively engage, and determining, well, what level of engagement feels right to you to be able to show up the way you want to show up. I think that's very important. Another thing about social media is it can help you track down the people you need to be talking to, right? So there are far too many people who approach a job search with a passive and responsive approach. And passive and responsive can be sort of a little dangerous, because it's like, what, are you waiting for mom and dad to give you the next piece of homework, or a teacher, or a hand-holding boss in an early role? I think largely this group here tends to attract folks that are a little more driven in terms of creating their future. It tends to attract people who recognize that, hey, no one is going to manage your career for you all the way. You know, you may have people give you some good advice along the way. You may get opportunities and breaks, but ultimately you're the one responsible for the total orchestration of your life and your career. Social media will help you find the people you need to talk to, because when you get to the heart of all of the work that goes into really understanding yourself and what you need to be and do next, you need to find the people that matters to. And it may not be the people that you grew up with. They may have grown into different trajectories. Maybe they're complementary skill sets where trust was built early and maintained throughout your life, and now they see that you've got this expertise in this area that's different than how they used to think about you. Well, there might be a real opportunity to start a conversation there. Maybe there's a little work that needs doing that you would be uniquely qualified to do. It's pretty golden when you find that, right? So social media can open up those channels as well. People have some different apprehensions and questions that come up around social media. So if someone gives you a recommendation, are you required to reciprocate? No, you don't have to. And maybe their experience with that person wasn't as strong as their experience with you was. It is nice to be generally reciprocal, and a pay it forward attitude in networking goes a long, long way. So you may want to think about, who can you send an endorsement to this week? Who can you sort of recommend? Are there any great people in your network that would really benefit from having someone shine the flashlight on their strengths? Do you have a unique window into someone's strengths who need to understand themselves? A lot of the world's kind of crawling out of a cave right now. It's been 2 years of pandemic living. And yes, the social media channels have been active, but there's been a lot of back foot approach to the market. And things are heating up fast now. There's a lot of stuff changing. And really being on the leading edge of the excitement of that change is going to be good, especially if you're moving into a high energy place or a high energy pace. Some people get this question that comes in. It's like, what have you done since your last job? And there's so many ways to answer that. And for some people, that's a 1 month question, and some people that's a 5-year question. And it's important to be able to look at what you've done through the lens of the value you promise to create now. And so if you spend some time studying the market or serving family needs while continuing to stay abreast of market changes, or maybe working in a high intensity dynamic for a while and then needing to take a break, ready to reset and hit the ground running. I think when people are looking at gaps or, what did you do between this year and this year, especially the gap between the most recent one, there's this sense of like, did you lose your pressure system? Are you still fit to go to work? How are you able to come in and get on the frequency swiftly and produce value with us? Or will you need substantial hand-holding and support to be able to do that? So this, in terms of the social, it also keeps you visible. You may want to think about sending something to your network even once a week about your area of expertise. Some expert marketers running their own businesses are very diligent about communicating every day to their audience, sharing something, building that connection, making them feel closer, feeling closer to their audience, giving a broader window into who they are and what they think about. Often, especially if the work that they're pursuing is aligned to their lifestyle, well, this can be a very winning strategy because trust precipitates work. If someone's hiring you, it's because they're trusting that you can do the job. So being trustworthy is very important. Social media allows you an opportunity to showcase your trustworthiness because you don't write all your own endorsements. You don't write all your own recommendations. There are people that actually, say yes to you and are visible about it. And it's a courageous decision for them to do that and honor them by continuing to do great work and helping people see the great work that they do. Because being able to help everybody lift is a generative spirit that's a very powerful force in any organization or market. And if you're seen that way within your own network, well, your own network is going to get more excited about who you are and what you do. It's much easier to reach out to an old boss who happens to be really connected to someone you want to be hired by now if you've kind of stayed top of mind. If you're able to reconnect with them in a really positive way. Maybe even ask for a few minutes to have a conversation before the person's willing to give a recommendation. Because maybe there are parts of the value you created with that person that is exceptionally important for where you're going. Well, if they know that, well, then you can help them focus on what are the aspects of the work that you did together that opened up that area. What other questions do I get? I get some people that are really that if, are sort of afraid of being found. You know, it can be a little shy. It's all of a sudden it can be very exposed. You're easily searchable, and we've been moving from an insular age in humanity to an age of transparency, where it's getting easier and easier to find out anything you need, where it's easier and easier to find and be found, and everyone is that you meet, for whatever length of time, whether it's just for a micro flash of a second or for a longer consideration, someone's getting an impression of you, right? And you actually have it as within your capacity as a brand builder and an engager on social media to determine what kind of experience they're going to have. What will you be known for? This gets kind of exciting in the work that I do with folks that are near to the end of career. They may have worked 30 or 40 years, but haven't really properly had a chance to appreciate what they've done. And with folks that have, been 15, 20 years in, they produce significant value, but maybe they haven't really taken time to sort of see the big picture. They got the next deadline and kids to pick up and something needed at the house and parents or whatever it is. We're all pulled in lots of different directions at different times. The greatest regret I tend to hear from clients that have just left a job was, oh, I wish I spent more time networking while I was in the job. Well, take it into account. It's never too late to start networking. It's never too late to start getting your story out there in a better light. And ideally in the light of what it is that you want to do and what people need from you. And so also recognizing back to the frequency thing too, it's like people don't tend to leave jobs, they leave bosses, right? And that means, some of the best bosses you'll ever find are the bosses that you look to work for, and perhaps there's a great alignment with that boss in whatever organization it is, but the boss that you'll be working with or the client that you're going to be working with is going to play a huge determining factor in what you're able to produce and to create and inspire in that role. And so the trust that you want to be found in the network with the social media and with all of your actions and words, you're going to want to look for and find that in your boss too. So it's becoming increasingly important for executives to also manage their social media presence very powerfully and engageably. Because they just might find they're solving the business problems they want to solve with the people that want to put their hand up and solve them with them. So it takes a certain amount of initiative to kind of feel past whatever initial apprehensions are or discouragements about sharing. It's nice to share. I think one thing these last 2 years have taught us is that people need people. And people really value people and being around people. And, there are some human skills that need to be freshened up and, rebooted and built and strengthened. And social media is a great way to do that because, you can foster and cultivate the community that's focused on the things that you care to be focused on. And there's real power in doing that. You may want to decide how frequently or intensely you want to be engaged in social media. And some people see it as an important part of their daily routine. Some people see it as part of their weekly routine. Sometimes it's ad hoc, and there are different approaches which will certainly yield different results. But if you're looking for your next job, well, I would say that like 80% of jobs are coming through networking. And a great majority of all the networking that's happening is through and with social media. So this becomes a very, very important channel to get smooth with. Go back to your target list. Maybe you've developed a list of 10 or 20 companies you'd like to work for in some capacity. Well, on top of that, you're also going to want to identify who is that person at that organization you need to talk to. You want to find their head of HR, or Do you want to find, the group account director, or is it the principal or CEO you want to talk to? Maybe it's the chief creative officer. Somewhere in the space, there's going to be that person that is sitting with a business problem that you can take off their shoulders and maybe even solve better than they can. But they just haven't met you yet. So I want you to figure out who those people are and how are you going to get on their radar? Are you going to follow them? Are you going to reach out and proactively introduce yourself? If you're in transition, do you have a good strong web presence where you can point someone to? LinkedIn's even more powerful than pointing someone to your website because they can stay connected. You can stay connected and you can see where they're at as they move and vice versa. And especially if you're championing a content strategy. Your thoughts and words might be coming across their radar every week. If you're sharing good content, some of it is maybe work that you've written yourself. Write a paragraph on some important perspective that's germane to your area of expertise. Share that. Find an article that's really current and speaks to a point of view that you wish your clients understood a little more. Share that. Find something that one of your colleagues shared that is really powerful and insightful. Give it a like, give it a comment, and share that. And before you know it, all this information that's flowing through you, whether it's coming from within or without or from your neighbor, you become the concentrated flow around your core area of expertise. And next time people are looking for someone who does the things that you've decided to make central to your value proposition, they're going to find you pretty easily. And it's very exciting when that does happen. And that's happened to me numerous occasions where people approach me and say, hey, this is my name and I've met you by reputation. I see you do excellent work here, here, and here. Well, they only know that because I've updated my social media to reflect some of these wins and to articulate what my promise is. And to present myself in a way that feels safe and warmly engageable, and it inspires and invokes conversations. Because really, ultimately, however you're looking for a job, you will be involved in selling that work. There will be an interview of some sort or a sales meeting of some sort, because it's very unlikely that you will be hired based on your resume or LinkedIn profile alone. So what you want to do is have the content in your resume and LinkedIn profile that helps them understand, the success foundation that you're coming from and inspires them to want to talk to you. And when you get the chance to talk to them, you'd probably, like in an interview, you probably don't want to fall into the same trap that many interviewers fall into, which is being based in the past. Some people go to an interview with some foolish assumptions like, okay, it's up to the interviewer to manage the agenda entirely. Well, no, maybe you have your own agenda and go into that meeting. You might have some questions for them. You might want to steer the discussion in a particular way. Well, you can do that. And you're also going to want to just maybe even think about in the interview process, how connected do you want to be in socials? Can you get a chance to be connected in with that person on LinkedIn before or after an interview? It's good to do. And if they decide to go with another candidate, you can always be their ally and recommend other candidates, even if it's not the job for you, but someone who could do that job really well. Why not make an ally and help that person get a job and help that organization find their person and build a supportive network of people who know you just love to help. Back to the interview process, when we're actually selling the work, then we're going to need to help have them understand the value we create and our success stories, but as succinctly as possible. If you were conducting your perfect interview, what percentage of the time would you want to be talking about what you used to do? And what percentage of the time do you want to spend talking about what you want to do with them? And they're only going to want to talk about what you want to do once they know that you aced what you used to do. Right? So if you can very succinctly and clearly establish the trust in your foundation and platform, without getting too elaborate, over expansive, and having to oversell your story, It's nice to just, boom, get their feeling of trust, get talking about where we're going. Because what comes next is the work to actually get there. And that is what you will be taking an active role in facilitating and empowering as you lean in with that. Same thing about the way that you would summarize your different phases of your career on LinkedIn. You know, you might have a phase that's 5 years long, and well, some people put every accomplishment bullet from their resume, which is it's one thing you can do. But sometimes it's very good just to distill it down. You know, make it a nice readable narrative. Pack it with the words that SEO is going to need to be able to pick up on, but get to the heart of the value you created and see the narrative build. You know, and it becomes a cool story and a cool practice to be able to say, hey, that was an excellent phase where I developed expertise in this, this, and this. Great, on to the next. You know, so that you're not living in the past and emanating the energy that might make them think you just want to repeat your old self, because you know that's probably not what they're looking for. You know, might be if they're looking for another job in the same place and same style. It's the recruiter trap. It's the easiest for recruiters to recruit you into a job that you've done before. You're proven, you know, you've been in a space like that. You know, they can feel a little more confident. But, you know, if you want a recruiter to trust you to move to the next level, to say, hey, you know, even if she's never done that particular role, I have no doubt that she will ace it because she's aced things before and she's a fast learner. And, you know, the various proof points that you yourself will have to knit. And this stuff is so much easier done with a career coach. You're welcome to do it with me, or there are other career coaches as well that have great expertise in helping you understand your true value and how to package it in a way that makes the market sit up straight and want to work with you. So this is all part of the fun sport of transition. And I say fun sport because I've come to really see it that way. You know, sometimes when people lose a job, it feels like tragedy, or, you know, they're getting to the end of their financial situation and there's dramatic change that needs to happen. Okay, well, great, game on. That's what we're here on earth to do. We're here to change. We're here to make things happen, you know, and you're here to make things happen for yourself and for the world around you, and to better provide for your family and your friends and your vision of what kind of world you want to create. So social media will allow you to set the tone that really makes sense. For LinkedIn, you're going to want a foreground picture as well as a background picture. We're in the creative industry. It's unacceptable to have a background picture that's just generic, same as every starter LinkedIn account would have. You've been gifted a canvas to be able to further accentuate your communications. Maybe there's a visual message you want to share. Maybe there's a verbal message you want to share. Maybe you've done a ton of work with a ton of different clients, and even just having a quilt of their logos behind your head helps us understand, wow, it comes from that universe of considerations. Okay. But there's a picture is worth 10,000 words. And so if your picture is telling the right 10,000 words, you're going to have people much more likely to take interest in your story and find out a little bit more. But just stay on their radar. And, you know, and if you're putting out good content, you're going to capture the engagement of the people you want to talk to. And so you just make sure that the articles you're sharing and the thoughts that you're sharing and the perspectives and the tone with which you approach it with is consistent with your vision of who you are as a brand, as a value creator, and someone who's carving an amazing career in this industry. So thank you for joining us today. I'm going to pause the recording part now, and we're going to go into a little live interactive coaching with the folks that are on the call today and see how we can help you out. Once again, thank you, Nabs, for supporting this and you know, creating this container where we can really help move people forwards for real.